Greetings and welcome to the return of the Department of Tangents Minicast, a short interview with the Broken Lizard Troupe on their new film Super Troopers 2. I'm your host, Nick Zano. I haven't done one of these in a while. They're a short 10 to 15 minute interviews, bite-sized podcasts for when you don't have a full hour or hour and a half to spend listening. 2 weeks ago, the guys from Broken Lizard came to Boston to hand out donuts and coffee to a bunch of appreciative fans and to promote their new film, Super Troopers 2, which is out this Friday, April 20th. The guys were here for nearly 2 hours taking pictures with fans and signing everything from DVDs and beat-up old VHS copies of the original film to baseballs and bottles of maple syrup. When that was winding down, I got to speak with Erik Stolhanske and Steve Lemme about the sequel and the legacy of the original film. What added an extra level of fun to this was that 16 years earlier, I had covered the troupe when they originally previewed Super Troopers in Boston. I interviewed them back then on their tour bus. Boston was their 18th stop on a college tour. I reminded them of that, and they had a couple of memories of their trip here. I dug up that tape, so after the most recent interview, you'll get a snippet of that from February of 2002. It is an actual cassette tape, so I had to clean it up, but there is a bit of tape noise left over. There's a reason we don't use that technology anymore. But before we get to that, here's Erik Stolhanske and Steve Lemme from 2 weeks ago talking about Super Troopers 2 and Boston shenanigans. For reference, Erik speaks first.
You guys to promote the first one. Things seem to have changed a bit.
It's just funny. This is awesome because it is the first time since then that we've done anything really like this. Like for Beer Fest, they split us up. We did some fun stuff, but just feels like we're getting to relive all that all over again.
Yeah, and Boston was a legendary stop on the first Super Troopers.
We had a lot of fun in Boston.
We had to. We were introducing a band at the House of Blues, and we got there, and the bouncer at the House of Blues harassed Heffernan's mom because she didn't have her ID, and he wouldn't let her in the place.
Yeah.
And we were already in our cups a little bit. We'd had a few cocktails, and so we went up on stage and pulled our pants down and flashed the crowd, and
it felt like a very rock and roll thing to do at the time. Yeah.
But in retrospect, it was quite childish.
Fortunately, they've let us back into Boston. We're not banned from Boston.
Yeah, that's why it took so long to make the sequel.
Yeah, it must be gratifying. 300 people, 350 people, something like that.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's, everything sort of reading the tea leaves along the way has been incredibly encouraging, but, we're going to be a nervous wreck, nervously plucking our nose hairs until 420, and only then will we believe that it's, really happening.
What made now the right time to do the sequel?
We've been actually trying to make it for a while. We had meetings on it starting in 2008, and we started writing in 2009. We did 35 drafts of the script, and it just took a while to get the money together and get everything in place. But we did the crowdfunding campaign, and then once the movie was finished, Fox Searchlight noticed that 420 fell on a Friday in 2018.
What are you going to say?
What can you say about that?
So, it feels like the right time. Also, just that, now we realize I think people are ready for a really nice diversion, a really nice, light, goofy, ridiculous diversion. So that's what we want to be able to offer people.
You got a lot of the regulars back.
Oh yeah, all the gang wanted to come back, and the difficulty was we would have liked to have every single person back, but then it was how would we make it a new movie? So we got a lot of people back, and then we invited some new people.
I forgot Jim Gaffigan was in the movie.
Oh yeah. That's when he was just a pup.
Yeah, so it's kind of funny because on the first Super Troopers, Jim Gaffigan actually auditioned for the movie, and there was some internal debate because he beat Kevin out for every commercial audition they went on against each other, and so Kevin didn't want him to be in the movie, but the rest of us were like, no, this guy's funny. And then when he came to do the sequel, he actually flew. He was doing shows at the Wilbur Theater. He flew on his private jet, showed up for half a day, shot his scenes, and then flew out of there on his dime on his private jet. So things are looking up for
We
Gavin.
really made him.
Yeah.
We really did make him.
Where does the movie pick up?
We sort of wanted to just have it feel like an indefinite time later, knowing that, nobody's going to believe that it was a week later or a month later, but I think, the nice thing is we still look like, this could be within a couple of years of the first one.
Yeah.
what's without giving too much away? What's the sort of setting?
The log line?
Yeah, for this one.
Post 9/11, the Canadian and U.S. governments have done some border reassessment and discovered that Canada actually owes the U.S. a couple of miles of land. And so there's a little sliver of land where a Canadian town is going to have to become an American town, and they need some Vermont Highway Patrolmen to patrol the area. So that's us. We come in and we're basically an occupying force, and we meet up with the Mounties who are going to acclimate us to the area and phase us in, but it's not going to go according to plan.
And then there's crime.
And we discover a crime.
Did you know what the story was going to be in 2008 or before you started this?
Yeah, you know, we bounced around a few things, but when we read that there was an actual border reassessment and they found out that some of the markers weren't where they thought, we thought, oh, it would be funny to imagine that they realized that a stretch where there's a town actually has to become America. So, yeah, we just thought that was a great setup for our humor.
Were you able to sort of slip back into these characters? Or these?
Like a comfortable old shoe.
Yeah, it's like sucking on mother's tit.
It is. It was, and we'd never done that before. But revisiting these characters was a blast, and it made it easy to write because you know how these guys talk.
It also kind of changed the nature of a couple of us. Like any obnoxious or un-PC thing we could think of, we're like, we'll just make Farva say it. And the end result is that all Farva does is say insane shit throughout the entire movie, so it seems like he may be going insane.
How did he feel about that?
Loved it. He loved it.
Yeah, the more up to 11 we dialed him, the more Kevin enjoyed playing that character, to the point where it get a little scary.
Yeah, I don't think he's crossed back over to real Kevin Heffernan.
When you dance with the devil,
yeah,
the devil changes you.
Like when they say don't cross your eyes,
Yeah,
they'll get stuck that way. He got
say-
stuck that way.
Sorry, it's on the card.
Boy, okay, let's see if there's a real estate.
We're only doing an interview over here. It's okay. It's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I'm giving you shit.
Hey, if y'all are looking for green or anything like that in Boston, let me know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. I got you. Oh, you don't have to sign that for you.
Oh, well, I got my own autograph.
Now you got your own autograph. Sign this one.
So did you guys find that
This is your pen.
the cops actually liked the movie? I usually said that did a photo shoot here with some of Boston's finest.
Yeah, it was easily the biggest surprise of the first movie. I mean, we thought it was funny. We thought like a young college crowd would get a kick out of it, and it really was only until much later when we started getting approached by cops and highway patrolmen and military personnel and prison guards of like how much it spoke to them in terms of like they appreciated the fact that somebody portrayed them as they feel that they are, as just regular people who have jobs that you want to try to keep interesting, and sometimes you do stupid shit just to make the days more interesting, and that turned out to be like just a great kind of lucky bet.
Which is funny because then at our live shows, half the crowd is stoners and half is cops. Sitting next to each other in harmony.
Was it tough to get everybody back together with everybody's schedules sort of these days?
No, we're all friends from college, and we all live like right next door to each other. So, scheduling maybe was an issue, but we were all psyched to do this.
Will you do anything again, sort of as Broken Lizard in the future?
Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, it really comes down to people come out on 420 and see the movie. I mean, everything is about opening weekend now, so we've got a lot of stuff up our sleeve, and it's just a matter of people turning out.
Even if it wasn't a movie, would you tour as a sketch troupe?
We could a little bit. I don't have much appetite for that, but honestly, there's nothing like making movies. That's really what we prefer to be doing.
What's next for both of you guys?
Well, we're talking about Super Troopers. If Super Troopers 2 does well opening weekend, there's a chance we can do Super Troopers 3. We could also potentially do Pot Fest, which is the sequel to Beer Fest.
And do you know what Super Troopers 3 would be?
We've started
got some
talking
ideas,
about it,
yeah.
It needs work. I mean, but the kernels are there, and that's really just where it starts.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks,
for taking
man.
the time.
Appreciate it.
Very much appreciate it.
Sure thing.
And now a quick look back to February of 2002 when I was sitting on the Broken Lizard tour bus while the troupe was promoting the first movie. Broken Lizard is a bit of an anomaly as a troupe in that they are exclusively film-based. You heard Erik's answer there just now about how he wouldn't be interested in touring as a live group, and listening to the older interview, that's not surprising. They wanted to skip over the television series and go straight to the mode Monty Python was in when they were making Holy Grail and Life of Brian. This is the troupe on the tour bus talking about that plan and the types of movies they were setting out to make back then.
I know you said yesterday the group didn't want to go towards TV with film first, rather than try to be another sketch show channel that we do What was it more? You just didn't want to go that route, or was it more like you just saw that?
It was a matter of like, what was the big point, you know, and what was the goal to have another sketch show. I mean, it sounds highfalutin, but we're trying to like, you know, I honestly think that making a sketch show on television right now, I can understand why people would do it, but I don't see the.
There's also like when we were going down that road, there's so many people making sketch shows at the time, and there seemed to be a void in like a group like this that makes films as like a total filmmaking entity like Monty Python did. And I think it lends itself well. That medium lends itself well to our storytelling, where you can develop a character for whatever hour and a half, and then tell an hour and a half story, then move on the next time and have completely different characters that have a little more three-dimension.
It was something that, like, I mean, obviously, like, when we started, sketch comedy was all over the place. Just like, stand-up comedy was a few years before that on every channel. But, when we would write sketch comedy and stuff, we found it also, like, being on the stage, while it was, rewarding and everything, you also couldn't, you'd always say, God, it would be so great if we had, like, the money to do this, or if we could, go to this place, or we could, actually have this type of effect. So, and also, we were just influenced growing up by those great movies, like the Monty Python movies, Stripes, Caddyshack. So I think we were just heading in that direction naturally before we knew it.
There's certain niche you're trying to carve out for the group itself, or certain sort of reputation for the group.
I mean, I think you should. I want people to hear it and associate it with a certain type of comedy that is, big laughs and pretty exciting, and as we've been discussing recently, sort of good-hearted stuff. We don't really do comedy, and I mean, I think that's what people seem to be getting that sense from us, and I think what we would like to encourage is, you're going to meet characters that you like, and you're going to want to do some fun stuff.
It's born out of our personality. I don't think we necessarily aim on what kind of humor we're going to have, because what we try to do is make each other laugh. That's probably where most of our comedy comes from. Like, if these guys laugh, it's funny. It's probably funny. If it's not, it's cool. We think it's funny.
Neil Young.